Alright guys, Hayzink here, welcome back to the channel for another Disgaea RPG video. So for this video, I'm over on JP, but this is actually something that is relevant to every player who plays Disgaea RPG, okay? Now I know a lot of you aren't necessarily fans of JP content, but today I'm not strictly talking about JP content. I'm talking about something that I actually hoped would come to fruition in Disgaea RPG. Now looks like it's something that's going to happen going forward, potentially. So we're going to talk about that. There's something that's happened for the first time ever. It's going to be happening with this rerun banner, and also the fact that they're rerunning the 7 Deadly Sins is something that they've never done yet. They've never done a rerun of an outside collab. So before we go on and talk about today's video, if you wouldn't mind, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and doing all those good things. Now obviously I currently have some text on screen just now that is in Japanese, and you guys will not be able to read it because I can't read it. Some of you might be able to read it, who knows. But anyway, the 7 Deadly Sins banner is coming back to JP, and I will be doing some summons on it, and it gives me a good opportunity to show you guys a little bit more hands-on of what we can expect when this comes to global in the coming months. But that is not the important thing about today. What I want to talk about today is, if you've watched my videos, you'll know that I've mentioned a couple of times, I've spoke about this on my Discord and stuff like that, that one thing I feel that was missing from Disgaea RPG is a system where you can use older characters. Now, most people know that most gacha games have something that we affectionately call a power creep, okay? Now, basically, for those of you that don't know, power creep essentially means that there comes a point where your older characters become fairly irrelevant compared to newer characters, and they're not worth summoning for, they're probably not worth using, and there's a lot of characters that you've put investment into that essentially fall on the waste pile and you don't really get much use out of them, okay? Now, games like Dragon Ball Legends and Dokkan Battle have introduced systems where they take those old characters, they usually do like an event. In Legends they're called Zenkais, in Dokkan they're called EZAs, but essentially what they do is they take an older character who's maybe not as relevant as it once was, and they update their stats to bring them more in line with modern day counterparts, and those characters become usable, okay? Now up to this point, Disgaea has never buffed a character in the entirety of this game. However, with the 7 Deadly Sins collab returning, they are going to be buffing the characters, and this is the first time that they have done this, okay? So I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'll just talk about a couple of them really quickly, and then we'll talk about more what this could mean going forward, okay? So a perfect example is Meliodas, okay? Meliodas, when he came out originally, gave 13% to all party stats. That's now been buffed to 15%. His special damage was 45%. It's now been increased to 55%, so it's quite a buff. His attack was by 32% at the start of battle for 3 turns. That's now gone to 45% on his ability 3, okay? He's got a special sword, which if he uses it, his buff decreased from 25% down to 30%. And he's got a special kill called Divine Slayer, which is also being buffed. So that's just one character. I'll pick another one here at random, which is going to be Ban, okay? Pan, for example, he did give party speed +5. It's now given +7. His ability 2, all parameters other than his own HP was +7%, it's now going to be 10%. His ability 3 stays the same, but his ability 4 is if you are equipped with a fist weapon, is going to go from 27% to 30%. And again, some of his skills have changed as well. So what they've basically done is they've taken these characters who at the time were very good, but over time have not been as good, they've not held up to modern units, and they've made it so that if you summon these characters today, you could run these characters. There would be an argument for you to put these characters onto your team, okay? Now, first off, I just want to say, I fully expect Global to launch with the original stats, okay? So I don't expect Global, when we get this collab, to get these new stats right out the gate, okay? They will probably buff them on global at the same kind of time period that JP buffed them. So about a year after release, they get buffed on JP, okay? So again, don't think this means that on global we're going to get these higher buffed stat characters, but on JP, when they re-release, they're going to be buffed. Now, why is this important? Well, the fact that they have now implemented buffing characters into the game, it means that it's something that they are willing to do, okay? And generally what you tend to find is when a company does something once, they are more open to doing it again, and they may start doing it to other characters. So characters who you have just now, who you might think to yourself, oh, you know what, I don't really want to put investment into these old ass characters that I know I'm not going to use later down the line because I can see what JP are doing and I can see that this character maybe falls off a little bit, okay? Well, this actually gives the game the ability to sell older characters to newer players, okay? Now that's good for existing players because their characters automatically get the buffs applied, but it means that they can run a banner. For example, Tyrant Valvatores, he's just an example. He's obviously fallen off a little bit on JP, okay? But if they now decide, okay, we've got a new batch of players, we want to sell this character, let's buff Tyrant Valvatores, let's give him this, that, and the next thing, then if you're someone who has that character sitting in your box, you're going to find that your character has been improved, your character has got better. Now, obviously it's complete speculation about who they will buff going forward, but the fact that they're doing it to the 7 Deadly Sins suggests that anything before them and shortly after them is probably fair game to get buffs and things like that applied. Now, who needs it? Well, that's debatable. I mean, maybe all of the OG characters like Lahara, etc. could do from slight buffs, but seeing as they are more common characters, I'm not 100% sure that they would buff them, but they may buff some of the earlier special characters. So for all we know, they might buff things like Dark Santa Laharo, they might buff New Year Rosalind, they might buff Pure Sicily and Dark Artina. Not saying those two characters need buffs necessarily, I'm just saying they are in the realms or the kind of time frame of 7 Deadly Sins. So it could be open season for us to start seeing more buffs being applied to this game. Now obviously this isn't something that's set in stone, this is a little bit of speculation, but again, this is the first time that they've ever done buffs in the game, and generally once they start doing something like that, it usually ends up being that it's something they do a little bit more regularly. Now obviously Disgaea as a franchise doesn't have a never-ending supply of characters that it can pull from, you know, so it makes sense that they may start to rerun older things but rerun them at higher levels, which is really good because again, if you're someone who's been playing the game for a while, this is a reason that you're going to get great benefit. And guys, this is a thing that I think you should really take to heart because, again, I'm going to use Dokkan as an example. When I made content for Dokkan, which I still do occasionally, I'm not a Dokkan creator anymore by any stretch, but I still play the game daily and I still make content for it sometimes. But if you go and watch the more dedicated Dokkan content creators like Gacha Talks on his own channel, which not the Disgaea one, he's got a second channel, and some other people, the one thing they'll tell you shouldn't do is reroll, okay? You shouldn't reroll because characters that you once deemed to be maybe not the best, later down the line when they get buffed, you'll be desperate to get those characters back into your box. It's a reason why I generally don't recommend rerolling in any game once you've built up a bit of a roster, because when they start introducing things like buffs and changes to character pools, it can then become quite hard for you to get that character, and you're going to end up summoning on banners later down the line that you possibly had lots of those characters already in your box. So it's just something to consider. I mean, yes, it's very speculative and you basically have to gamble a little bit on who could get buffed and who couldn't get buffed, but the fact that the 7 Deadly Sins are coming back to JP and they are going to be buffed tells us that this is something that Forward Works, which in turn will mean Bolt Trend, is going to be doing with character pools in this game. So this is actually big news. Yes, in the immediate term, it's going to affect JP players because they are going to get this today, I believe. I'm going to be doing some summons on the 7 Deadly Sins banner later, but this is going to be happening today for JP. It's going to be quite a while away for global, but the fact that it is something that they are now willing to do in game means that potentially a lot of your characters who you might think to yourself, well, these characters are going to become useless, they're not. They're going to get buffed, and potentially they're going to get better than what they are right now. So it's something I think that's a positive change within the game. It makes the kind of ecosystem of the game a little bit healthier, in my opinion, and it's something that I'm actually quite excited about, and I felt that people should know about this. Again, guys, I wouldn't expect the 7 Deadly Sins to launch on global with higher stats, but just be aware that if you pull the sins now, eventually they're going to get buffed and they're going to become even better. So it's not like you're going to summon for a character now that's going to fall off in 6 months and never get used again. Yes, you may summon characters in 6 months and you put these guys on the back burner, but you know you're going to be able to pull them out of that fire and start using them again in the future. So anyway, guys, I've been Hayzink. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I thought it was news that was worth bringing to you. If you've enjoyed it, like the video, comment down below, and you know what? Talk about who you think you could get buffed in future. I know on global it's a little bit difficult, but there's probably some characters you already have that you can see yourself that they're probably going to fall off in the future. So comment down below about who you think could see buffs down the line, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one, dudes. See ya.